The departure point. The colony ship Anamnesis hung in the void between stars, its hull scarred by 50 millennia of drift. Captain Alara Voss stood at the observation deck, her fingers pressed against cold glass, watching the familiar spiral arm of the Milky Way rotate slowly below her like a sleeping god. She had been born in transit. So had her mother. And her mother's mother. 37 generations of humanity raised inside recycled air and artificial gravity, taught about Earth the way ancient sailors once taught their children about heaven, as something real, somewhere, just unreachable. But now the navigation console behind her blinked green. "We're close," said First Officer Marcus Dane, his voice carrying the careful flatness of someone who had stopped himself from hoping too many times before. 48 hours, Captain. If the charts hold. Alara turned. The charts were older than language. Older than the ship itself. Encoded in quantum lattice by the original Exodus Council in the year 3000, they described not just coordinates, but a galaxy exactly as humanity had left it. "The charts will hold," she said. She was wrong. And that wrongness would crack everything open. The edge of the familiar. At 18 hours out, the long-range sensors screamed. Lieutenant Priya Nair pulled the data onto the main screen with trembling hands. Where the charts promised the Cygnus Veil, a breathtaking cloud of blue nebulae used as a navigational landmark for 1,000 years, there was nothing. Clean, empty space. Not even residual gas. "Someone erased it," Priya whispered. "Nebulae don't vanish," Marcus said sharply. "This one did." Alara studied the data in silence. Then she requested a full spectral sweep of the surrounding sector. What returned made the bridge fall completely quiet. Every mapped star cluster within 40 light-years had shifted, not in position, but in nature. Ancient red giants now burned violent blue-white. Dead systems hummed with structured energy signatures. And at the center of what should have been empty space sat a structure so vast it registered on sensors as a small moon. It was not a moon. It was a receiver. Contact. The signal reached them before they reached it. It wasn't radio. It wasn't light. It arrived as a vibration in the ship's hull, then translated itself, impossibly, perfectly, into spoken English. Old English. The kind spoken in the year 3000, when humanity left. You were expected. Though not for another 12,000 years. You are early, children. The galaxy is not yet finished. Alara opened the ship-wide channel. Every one of the 4,000 souls aboard heard what followed. The voice identified itself as the architects, not a species, but a collaborative of 17 civilizations who had spent 40,000 years restructuring the Milky Way. Replacing dying stars. Seeding barren systems with life. Rerouting gravitational flows to extend the lifespan of hospitable zones by billions of years. The galaxy humanity had memorized, had dreamed about, had crossed the black to return to, had been a construction. A temporary snapshot. A version that never intended to last. You've been rebuilding our home? Alara said, her voice barely controlled. We have been building everyone's home, the voice replied. The shattered illusion. The fleet, all 9 ships of the human return armada, gathered in formation as the full scope of the revelation cascaded through every console, every screen, every mind. Earth still existed. That, at least, was true. But it was no longer the Earth of history books. It had been gently moved, a slow orbital migration over 20,000 years, farther from a sun that had been cooling and expanding. Continents still stood. Oceans still breathed. And on the surface, the architects had preserved human ruins like sacred text, museums of marble and microchip, left untouched out of reverence. Alara wept once. Quickly. Then she straightened. She thought of 37 generations who had carried a map of a galaxy that no longer existed. Who had passed down the names of stars that had since been born into something greater. They had not been lied to. They had simply been holding a photograph of a child, while the child had grown into something extraordinary. "Do we land?" Marcus asked. Ilara looked at the blue arc of the altered Earth on the view screen. "Alive. Breathing. Waiting. We land," she said. "And then we learn who we are now." The anamnesis broke atmosphere at dawn, trailing fire, coming home to a world that had outgrown its name, and was, somehow, more itself than ever before.